Hi and welcome. I'm Lisa. Thanks for joining me for another card making tutorial. Today I'm going to share a few recently released products from Whimsy Stamps, and I'll talk about those products as I move through the tutorial. We're going to jump straight into this. I've stamped the holly from the vintage Poinsettia stamp set onto Bristol smooth paper with VersaFine Onyx black ink so I can color the images with my Zig Cling Color Real Brush pens. I'm starting with the mid green, laying down that first layer of color. I lay down just a little bit of that green, and then I use my blender pen to pull that color out to the tip of the leaves. Now for the leaves that appear to be under another leaf, I'm using olive green as that first layer. It's a tad bit darker than the mid green. And again, I'm laying down a little bit of the olive green and then using my blender pen to pull the color out to the tips of the leaves. We're going to let this dry for a few minutes. I found that layering this is the best way to use these pens, and allowing dry time between those layers makes a big difference. So I'm coming in now with platinum brown to add some shadows to the leaves. I'm going to lay down that brown wherever I want the shadows and then follow that with pale dawn gray to soften the edges of the brown. And then I'm going to finish the blending with my blender pen just to make sure I have a nice smooth blend. Once I finish coloring the leaves, I let them dry and I decide I want to come in with one more shade of green. So I've picked marine green to add another shade of that green to these leaves. Now, this is a blue-green color, and in my opinion, this is exactly what the leaves needed. So I'm using this green sparingly and blending it out with my blender pen. Once I have it finished, I'm going to set it aside and let it dry before I move on to coloring the berries. While coloring the berries, deep red, red, and light pink, and this step is easy. Let the stamped details on each of the berries be a guide as to where to lay down your darkest and lightest colors. And this is how I colored all the images that I'm using today. So once you're done coloring, just set those aside. We're moving on to stamping backgrounds for our cards. I'm getting us started with one of my favorites, the Scratchy Plaid background stamp. Now I'm stamping this onto an A2 110-pound card base using VersaFine Onyx black ink. And next, we're going to go ahead and stamp for our Slimline card. Now you can just use a panel because I end up die cutting this down a little bit later in the video. This is the new Nordic background stamp. It is absolutely gorgeous. I stamped it onto 110-pound cardstock using VersaFine Onyx black ink. So I did go ahead and run those images through my scan and cut to cut them out. And now we're going to die cut the elegant ornament from glossy black cardstock. And we're using the Shaker Maker rectangle dies from Whimsy to create a silver glitter frame for our card. Now that we have these pieces cut out, we can start to assemble the card. So foam adhesive to the back of the frame and center that up on your card. You're going to lay the ornament down, snip off the excess from the top, glue to the back of it, and then center it inside the frame. Once you have your ornament down, you can add foam adhesives to your holly images and arrange them on the frame. Now, next up, I want to introduce you to the new Believe word and shadow die from Whimsy. I love this scripty font. It's absolutely gorgeous. Off screen, I ran this through the die cutting machine using that same silver glitter cardstock and then just plain black cardstock. I'm using glue so I can layer these up together, but I'm going to offset that black cardstock just a little bit, and this will help that silver glitter cardstock pop up off the front of the card. Now I'm using tiny pieces of leftover black foam adhesive to pop this up, but you could use glue instead. Now for my second card, I'm going to be using the Slimline cornered rectangle dies to cut that Nordic background out that I stamped earlier. I picked this because the Nordic design has angles like the corners of the die. And you can use tape or glue to add your die cut piece to a black slimline card base that measures 3.5 by 8.5 inches. Once I have the panel centered on my card base, I'm ready to start moving on. Now off screen, I played around a little bit. I wanted to test this out. I foiled the Believe word onto black cardstock using my Glimmer foiling system and silver foil. I used the shadow die to then cut it out. Now, I do realize not everyone has the foiling system, so just use silver glitter cardstock or silver foil cardstock to die cut the word and then add it to black cardstock. So I have that centered up. I'm going to go ahead and start adding the rest of the images to the card. And I'm just arranging these by sliding them under the edge of the die cut word and adhering them to the card using glue and foam adhesives. Now I did finish both of the cards off with red gem stickers. And that's going to wrap us up for today. Let me know what you think about the cards in the comments below. And for more information on the products seen in this video, you can click the links directly below and check them out. I appreciate you so much for spending time with me today. Until next time, please take care.